Welcome again. Very pleased and glad to continue with you this course of literature, which is aimed to cover the first year LMD syllabus or level, right? So we continue today with our second part of introduction about this gigantic field of knowledge, which is literature. Now, the first thing we may ask or wonder about is why do we study literature? Why do we devote all this time, all these resources, and all this interest, right, to this field of knowledge? The answer is very easy, because literature has many benefits. It has, multiple benefits. Today we'll try to highlight, the main prominent benefits one can, obtain from this lively, field of knowledge. Now, as you know that in literature, in novels, short stories, poems, and so on, we find, if you can say, a kind of reflection, reflection. Literature, in fact, reflects, and explores human ideas, human beliefs, human cultures, human, mindsets, human, perceptions, and so on and so forth. That's why you find British literature, American literature, African literature, Arab literature, and so on. So, through these different, we can say, trends with the literature, we can, get in touch, with these different, we can say, corridors, in this field. For example, Jane Austen, as a British writer, acquaints us with the aristocratic class system in her society, We have Chinua Achebe also, in his novella Things Fall Apart, acquaints us with his traditional African civilization, Also, we have in American literature Great Gatsby, Fitzgerald also introduces to us, that hedonistic American lifestyle, of affluence and so on. Also, the Irish literature also produces to us different characters in Dubliners, by JOYCE, who, if you can say, reflects and tries to transmit, the archetypes of the Irish characters, in his collection of short stories, Dubliners. So, when we interact with these texts, with these pieces of literature, we can exchange views about, the human ideas, cultures, perceptions, and so on. So this is the first benefit. Good. Another also important benefit from literature, when we read literature, when we, if you can say, involve ourselves, when we live literature, is that it helps us discover human ways of understanding life. It helps us understand life, find ways for a better understanding of life. For instance, when we read Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, we feel that Hemingway wants to deliver his message, through his work, saying that the key element or the key factor for success in this world is persistence, like what Santiago, or how Santiago, the old man, persists, to hunt the fish, to hunt the fish. This is the first, we can say, lesson we can get from this novella, Another also lesson, something we can understand from literature or from life through literature is Jack Kerouac's On the Road, with that lifestyle of mobility, all the time, the journeys and so on, a non-stop journey. Here he wants us just to understand that life, right, has no limit. Right, life is a journey, an endless journey which has no limit. Right, just live its moments. Live its moments. Clear? Good. Also, another important benefit of literature is that it helps us learn from those who are different, okay, from us, in terms of time, in terms of place, and in terms also of culture. So in literature, we read about characters, we learn about writers, like in autobiographies, okay, who are far from us in terms of maybe time, maybe place, maybe ideology, maybe perception, and so on. Clear? So we learn from them, right, many things. We exchange, okay, through reading this piece of literature with them indirectly, right, their experiences and their, okay, all what they have lived, okay, they have lived. Right, good. Also, another important benefit, right, we can say infer from or get from literature is that it helps us discover ourselves better when comparing ourselves to these characters we are reading about. Okay, because when we read a novel, short story, we always imagine, or you put yourself sometimes in his shoes. Alright, you say, what if I were him? What if I were him? Here you just try to imagine the situation, you compare yourself to him, you you find even, okay, some points of weakness about yourself. Okay, for example, you can't do what this character does. So here, you discover your points of weakness, your points of strength also, and so on. And so on and so forth. Also, another important benefit we get from reading literature is that it reinforces our knowledge, right? Our knowledge and our insight, right? About different movements of literature, different areas read about, different historical eras read about, different characters read about, different writers which are, okay, expressed through their art, through their works and so on. So we know more about Victorian literature thanks to Charles Dickens's novels. We know more about also, I don't know, the two world wars through reading, for example, right, novels about wars, okay, like Ernest Hemingway's novels. Also, we learn more about African literature when we read, okay, to Ngugi wa Thiong'o, when we read about Chinua Achebe, alright. Also, we know more about the 18th century and its romanticist mood, alright, and the 19th century with its realist mood, alright, and so on and so forth. Now this, okay, broadens our knowledge, okay, and also insight. Another also interesting feature or benefit we can get from literature is that it sharpens our senses. It sharpens our senses, especially poetry. Poetry tends to reflect the human, you can say, perceptions, impressions, ideas, reflections, sensations. That's why it makes us more sensitive in the positive sense, of course, clear, more aware, more, I don't know, developing more sense of beauty, right, more sense or better sense of beauty, and so on. It also creates for us that fertile imagination when we read about different cultures, different eras, science fiction, I don't know, strange creatures, right, which mentioned in these works, like the elves, like the monsters, and so on. So here we create our, okay, fertile imagination thanks to literature, and also we, you can say, refines our taste of beauty, our taste of beauty thanks to literature when we read these coherent and well expressing pieces of art, and these masterpieces too. Good. Also, we learn about, or literature in general gives us, that sense of justice. Sense of justice when we read, in the body of literature about the world's injustices. The world's injustices. It helps us here, take, if you can say, a fair stance, right? Just stance, right? To side with the right against the wrong, right against the wrong, right? For example, when we read Terminal for Émile Zola and we learn about suffering of those minors, here we develop that sense of justice against tyranny, against injustice, against exploitation of workers, and so on. Also, we read Animal Farm for George Orwell, and we find that false motto, right, or slogan of all men are equal, right, which is in fact only you can say an illusion, right, a trick, an illusion, which is you can say disclosed by its second part, but some men are more equal than others, So through Animal Farm, we learn that the world is full of injustice, right, and some of the claims and you can say assumptions about justice are themselves based, and set just for the sake of practicing injustice against others. So here we create our awareness, our consciousness, right, and also we have an idea about the ideology which may be manipulated to serve certain sides against other sides. Good. Also, literature is a rich source of entertainment. Right? As you know, we read among the theories which study function of literature, we find those who say that literature is meant to entertain and amuse readers. That's why many writers adopted this view and notion, and they produced very interesting and amusing pieces of art. For example, you can read to Mark Twain, Mark Twain and his fascinating novels, right? Huckleberry Finn, or also Tom Sawyer. These are very entertaining pieces of art. Also, we can read child literature, which is very rich, also very amusing, and so on, and so forth. Also, another important benefit of literature is that it broadens our horizon. It broadens our horizon through the different interpretations. You know that when we read a text, right, we understand it in our own way, right? And when another person reads the same text, he also understands it, in his own way. So here we have what we call a multiplicity of interpretations, and these interpretations will enrich the text in itself, because the text, right, is we can say what we read in it, right? The text is the way how it is read, and how it is interpreted. Not only doesn't have only one, let's say, fixed meaning, right? It has as many meanings as readings. It has as many meanings as readings, and you know the famous saying which says, "Don't trust the writer, but trust the text." Trust the text. Here, of course, we're going to focus mainly on the text and explore its richness through the different interpretations we can get from reading this or that text or poem or play or so on. Play. Good. And each reader has his own background, has his own ideology, his own mindset, his own perceptions, and theoretical background, okay, which participates, okay, to vary and enrich discussion and the interpretation of this or that text. Also, literature helps us to understand history, but it even changes history. Okay, it even changes history because first, we, for example, if we read for the old, literary works of the Greeks or works of the Romans, and the works of in the recent centuries, also Middle Ages and so on, we have an idea about, okay, what was going on, okay, in that era and at that time. Also, for example, it can change history. We can take an example, for instance, with the novel of Harriet Stewie, that black woman, who wrote her masterpiece, Uncle Tom's Cabin. This novel, okay, adopted that abolitionist stance against slavery, okay, and it evoked and it contributed to the outbreak of the American Civil War. Okay, American Civil War. It, we can say, steered the public against slavery, and Lincoln, the American president at that time, okay, when he met Stewie, he said, "This is the woman or the lady who started the war." Okay, who started the war. So she could, you can say, steer and move the Americans to fight and to combat slavery in all the American territory. Also, we can mention also the novel of Ayrton Sinclair, which is Jungle by Ayrton Sinclair, who was at the beginning journalist, and he was sent to make a report about the meat industry in America, but later he discovered a lot of corruption, a lot of violation, concerning the meat industry and its hidden practices, and he wrote his novel The Jungle, which could steer also the public in America and even the authorities and the officials, and it led to enacting certain laws to organize and to fight the corruption in this sector of meat industry in America at the beginning of this century. Also, another important benefit of literature that it expands our vocabulary. When we read, and the first and the major source of vocabulary in all fields of knowledge is literature. It is very rich. It is very rich because it concerns many cultures, many tongues, many nationalities. That's why we also say that literature has no tongue, literature has no language, literature has no nationality. Clear? Literature is worldwide, is universal, is universal. It has no tongue, no language, particularly no, of course, it has no race, it is a creature which breathes everywhere and every time, through the human artistic production, Clear? That's why we should enrich ourselves, from this generous source, which contains multiplicity and panoramic cultures, traditions, histories, experiences of humans also, and human beings are recorded and reported in literature that we need to read to learn, also, literature improves our ability, to write and to reason. It teaches us. It has also that didactic function, which teaches us, how to reason when we read about different characters, compare between ourselves. See those hardships they had gone through. See those forces which are in conflict. see, for example, how, alright, the series of events are going on, right, and how hardships, how betrayals, how human disillusionment, okay, happen. Here we develop that sense of reason. Clear. We now learn from literature without experiencing this in reality, everything. So this offers us, if you can say, a beforehand step, right, to learn about how to deal with life hardships, how to reason, to solve our problems, and to find better solutions to our problems. So these are generally, okay, the main benefits, okay, we can highlight about why we learn, why we study literature. I hope that, okay, these benefits are satisfactory to you and to motivate you, okay, more to dive, right, and engage in this field and involve yourselves totally, right, spiritually and, okay, mentally even, right, to learn more about it and its details. So, thank you so much. We stop here, okay, with the last benefit of literature, which is not, of course, the last. It has a lot of other, okay, benefits, but these are the main ones. So I thank you so much for your attention and attentiveness, and wishing you the best luck and seeing you in another lecture. So thank you.